Hi, my name is Anthony Melfa, and this is my presentation on Chapter 5 of Peter G. Northouse's Theory and Practice 7th edition textbook, and Chapter 5 regards the situational approach of leadership. Before we dig into the situational approach, what do you think is the situational approach of leadership? So the situational approach was developed by Hersey and Blanchard in 1969, and that was based on Reddin's 1967 3D management style theory, and has been refined and revised multiple times since it was created. The situational approach is used plentifully in organizational leadership training and development. The situational approach focuses on leadership in situations, so different types of leadership are needed for different types of situations. This says that an effective leader changes their style based on certain situations that they're in. There are two main parts of the situational approach. It emphasizes that leadership is both directive and supportive in certain situations. This says that the amount of directive and supportiveness should change to meet the needs of followers, and leadership style should change based on the needs of followers that are recognized. This basically says that you as a leader should recognize what your followers need and change your style of leadership based on what they need in the direction of either directiveness or supportiveness. This screenshot from the text is from page 94, and it says, "In brief, the essence of the situational approach demands that leaders match their style to the competence and commitment of the followers. Effective leaders are those who can recognize what followers need and then adapt their own style to meet the needs." So situational leadership is categorized into two major categories: directiveness and supportiveness of leaders, and this is going to be explained more in the SL2 model later on. But these are the two major dimensions: directive leadership. And in directive leadership, goals are accomplished by giving directions, establishing goals, setting timelines, defining roles, and showing how goals should be achieved. This is majorly one-way communication, so you would talk to the follower and they don't give much feedback back to you, and you would clarify what needs to be done and how it will be done. On the other side, supportive leadership. This focuses on helping members feel comfortable about themselves, about coworkers, and about situations they're in. This is more two-way communication between you and your follower. You would give them feedback and they would give you feedback back to you. And this shows social and emotional support to members to make them feel more comfortable and make it an easier time for them to do their job. Going further into the situational approach, the directive and supportive leadership styles can be classified even further into four distinct categories. First category is S1, also called directing style. This is a high directive, low supportive style. Communication is focused on goal achievement, and less time is used for supporting behaviors. The second one is S2, which is also known as the coaching approach. This is a high directive, high supportive style. And communication is focused on goals and socio-emotional needs. Continuing on with the four categories of leadership style, the third one is S3, or the supporting approach. This is a high supportive, low directive style. It uses supportive skills to help followers accomplish goals, and leaders give followers recognition and social support the entire time. The last one, S4, is the delegating approach. This is a low supportive, low directive style. Less input is given towards goals and social support, and it gives followers more responsibility and more independence from the leader. This is the Situational Leadership 2 model, or SL2 model, that we previously discussed. This summarizes all the different leadership styles and illustrates how directive and supportive leadership behaviors combine for each of the four different leadership styles. And you can see with the arrows on the bottom and the left side of the model, directive behaviors are high in the S1 and S2 quadrants, and lower in the S3 and the S4 quadrants. And then supportive behaviors are higher in the S2 and S3 quadrants, and then low in the S1 and S4 quadrants. As a discussion question, after looking at the SL2 model, which of the 4 categories of situational leadership styles would you classify yourself to be in, and explain why? The bottom half of the SL2 model regards developmental level of followers, and developmental level is the amount of competence and commitment a follower has to a job or goal. High development level means a follower is interested and confident in the work and they know how to achieve goals. On the other end, the developing level is that a follower is motivated and confident but has little skill to achieve the goals. So as you can see on D1 on the right side, they would be developing and they would have low competence but high commitment. Going on to D2, they would have low to some competence and low commitment. Then D3, the follower would have moderate to high competence and variable commitment. And then all the way on the left side where it reaches developed on D4, the follower would have high competence and high commitment. For a discussion question, can you think of a time or a situation that you have been in where you were classified in one of these 4 developmental levels? Maybe at a job or in a sport or learning anything new? This YouTube video clip is a compilation of clips from different films that all show some type of situational leadership type. And while you're watching the film, think about which one of the 4 categories of situational leadership styles that I previously mentioned can you identify in each of the 6 clips.
Baby, wash my stuff, all right?
Okay.
Well, at least he'll look good coming off the bus. They'll be terrified till they realize he's a marshmallow. Looks like Tarzan plays like Jane.
Give me a minute, Bert.
We're in the middle of practice, Leanne.
You can thank me later. Come here. Michael, do you remember when we first met and we went to that horrible part of town to buy you those dreadful clothes? And I was a little bit scared and you told me not to worry about it because you had my back. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
And if anyone tried to get to me, you would have stopped them, right? And when you and SJ were in that car wreck, what did you do to the airbag?
Stopped it?
You stopped it. You stopped it. This team is your family, Michael. You have to protect them from those guys, okay? Listen. Okay. Tony here's your quarterback, all right? You protect his blind side. When you look at him, you think of me, how you have my back, how you have his, okay? All right, Tony, go back. All right. Oompa Loompa here is your tailback. When you look at him, you think of SJ and how you'd never let anyone or anything hurt him. You understand me? All right, go back. Got it?
What about Collins and Mr. Tui?
Fine, they can be on the team too. Are you gonna protect the family, Michael?
Yes, ma'am.
Good boy. Now go have some fun.
Alma, check your battery. Give me an A, please. Okay, wait. Try this. Close your eyes. Visualize yourself in a room full of people, lots of silverware, people dropping stuff, talking loud, drunks, women with trays going, what are you gonna have? Your voice has to carry over the din. You have to get up over all of that to be heard in the back of the room where I'm sitting, listening, straining to hear you, okay? Keep that in your mind when we do this. Sister? We call that an A with an attitude.
That's it. Now move in for the kill. Slash, slash. You got a man in your hand. That's it. I'm sorry, Duke. I had to do it. You was off balance. That's why. Did I hurt your thumb, Duke? I'll get you a bandage for it later.
What do you think you're doing? Did I hurt your thumb, Duke? What are you, Nurse Pyle or Private Gomer Pyle USMC?
Hey, Sergeant. You see,
You don't have to tell me what I see, Pyle. I know what I see. You were playing patty cake when you should be at his throat. He's the enemy.
Duke? You see, Sergeant, that's just the trouble. I can't hardly think of Duke as nothing but my friend.
Well, suppose instead of thinking of Duke, you're seeing me.
Well, I think of you as my friend, too.
Come on, Pyle. Kill me.
I just couldn't hardly do that, Sergeant.
Simulate. It's for your own good, Pyle. It's your life or the other fellas.
Depends on who the other fella is, Sergeant.
He's the enemy. Get it? The enemy. This ain't sportsmanship. You don't ask questions. You got two weapons in your hand. A blade for slashing and stabbing, a club for pounding and smashing. Now come at me, Pyle, with a slash. Come on. And when you do, let's hear it. With each stroke, give a holler. Now come on.
Ah!
Ah? You couldn't scare a bunny rabbit with that? What's the matter with you knuckleheads? You learned all this in boot camp.
Lead guitar, Zack Attack. Take a seat. On bass, Posh Spice. On keyboards, Mr. Cool. And on drums, Spazzy McGee. Okay, Blondie, brace face, you're singing backup. All right, tough guy, shortstop, fancy pants, get over here. You guys are on security detail. Your job is to make sure no one outside this room knows what we're doing in here. The future of the band depends on you. Okay, your first mission, soundproofing this room. Get on it.
Can I be the band stylist instead?
Of course you can, fancy pants. Okay. Carrot Top, Roadrunner, Turkey Sub. We are gonna have a lot of equipment. We're talking amps, electric guitars, maybe even lasers, and smoke machines. Now your job is to master the transportation and operation of this technology. Seriously, without a first-rate roadie crew, we'll never have a psychedelic show. And I can't live with that, okay? I'm counting on you. Get going. Go! All right. You three, groupies. And your job is simple. Just worship the band. And you're gonna be making hats, you're gonna be making t-shirts, all kinds of merchandise, which leads me to your first assignment, naming the band. Yes. All right, sit down.
You guys are superhuman. What you endure just to be here, to get a shot at this, the kind of privilege that someone like me takes for granted. There's nothing you can't do with that kind of strength, with that kind of heart. You kids have the biggest hearts I've ever seen. Now go run your race. Thomas, you're the captain.
Hey, Coach. Wanna call it?
Uno, dos, tres.
Make fire!
Gene, we have a situation brewing with the carbon dioxide.
We had a CO2 filter problem on the lunar module.
5 filters on the limb.
Which are meant for 2 guys for a day and a half. So I told the doc.
They're already up to 8 on the gauges. Anything over 15 and you get impaired judgment, blackouts, the beginnings of brain asphyxia.
What about the scrubbers on the command module?
They take square cartridges.
The ones on the limb are round.
Tell me this isn't a government operation.
This just isn't a contingency we've remotely looked at.
Those CO2 levels are going to be getting toxic.
Well, I suggest you gentlemen invent a way to put a square peg in a round hole. Rapidly.
Okay, people, listen up. People upstairs handed us this one, and we gotta come through. We gotta find a way to make this fit into the hole for this, using nothing but that. Let's get it organized.
Okay, let's build a filter.
Better get some coffee going, too.
Moving on to how does the situational approach work? To sum it up simply, followers move along the developmental level continuum from D1 to D4 based on competence and commitment. The leader must determine where the followers fall on the developmental continuum, and from where that determination is, the leader must change their leadership styles to match where the followers fall on that developmental continuum, whether it be D1, D2, D3, or D4. So there are four main strengths of the situational approach. First off, it's useful, and it has a history of usefulness, and is known by Hersey and Blanchard that it's been a factor in training programs for more than 400 of the 500 Fortune 500 companies. Secondly, it's practical, it's easily understandable, it's sensible, and it's easily applied into the workplace. It is prescriptive rather than descriptive, so it tells you exactly what to do and what not to do, and it gives leaders flexibility, so it emphasizes leader flexibility, and it stresses that leaders should find out about their followers' needs and adapt their leadership style according to their needs. And then situational leadership reminds us to treat each follower differently based on the goal, and to seek opportunities to help followers learn new skills and become more confident overall in their work. With all strengths of anything come the criticisms. So the criticisms of the situational approach are that there is limited research backing its findings. So there are a few studies that were done on the effects of the situational approach compared to other leadership approaches. The model for the situational approach is very ambiguous. So the SL2 model does not explain how commitment and competence form the four levels on the developmental continuum, and it does not explain how commitment and competence are weighed in the model. Matching leadership style to follow developmental levels is very ambiguous as well. So two studies were done by Vecchio, one in 1987 and one in 1997, and both studies did not find evidence for the prescription the model gives. And then Thompson and Vecchio did a study in 2009 that found no clear support for the model. Another criticism is that it does not account for all demographic characteristics, such as education, experience, age, and gender. Vecchio also did a study with Boatwright in 2002, and this found that the demographic characteristics may affect the follower's preference for a certain leadership style. The peer-reviewed article I found regarding situational leadership is from Business Horizons, Volume 52, Issue 2, published in March and April 2009. It's entitled, When Should a Leader Be Directive or Empowering? How to Develop Your Own Situational Theory of Leadership. And in this article, researchers drew on previous research about situational leadership while at a trauma center, and they used this to find a strategy of how a leader can best develop his or her personal theory of leadership and what works best under certain situations and circumstances. And they found 5 main approaches. They found to define goals for a specific situation, defining potential leadership types, identifying situational conditions, matching a leadership style to the particular situation, and then determined how the match between leadership style and the situation will be made. And while at the trauma center in the research, they found very interesting examples of how leaders considered elements of the situation to guide their own leadership. The popular press article that I came across is from Forbes.com, and it's titled How to Avoid Becoming a Micromanager. And this gives 13 actionable tips about things to do to avoid to become a micromanager. And the website states one of the most disliked methods of leadership, micromanagement, basically removes agency from individual contributors. This can deprive entire departments of the creativity and autonomy needed to develop innovative solutions. And while the tendency may arise out of good intentions, it is especially important for new leaders to fight the urge to micromanage their team. And then the website gives 13 reasons or 13 ways to avoid becoming a micromanager. And number 12 has to do with situational leadership, and it says use situational leadership principles. It further goes on to say, I encourage new leaders to use situational leadership, a wonderful model that looks first at an individual's competence on a task. Do they know how to do their job? Then look at it at their commitment to the task. Are they motivated, and do they have the confidence? Based on this diagnosis, the leader will then know which leadership style to use. This was said by Christine Cooper of the Cooper Consulting Group. This is the case study from the chapter that I chose. Is case 5.2, titled Why Aren't They Listening? Jim Anderson is a training specialist in the Human Resource Department of a large pharmaceutical company. In response to a recent company-wide survey, Jim specifically designed a 6-week training program on listening and communication skills to encourage effective management in the company. Jim's goal for the seminar are twofold: for participants to learn new communication behaviors, and for participants to enjoy the seminar so they will want to attend future seminars. The first group to be offered the program was middle-level managers in research and development. This group consisted of about 25 people, nearly all of whom had advanced degrees. Most of this group had attended several in-house training programs in the past, so they had a sense of how the seminar would be designed and run. Because the previous seminars had not always been very productive, many of the managers felt a little disillusioned about coming to the seminar. As one of the managers said, "Here we go again, a fancy in-house training program from which we will gain nothing." Because Jim recognized that the managers were very experienced, he did not put many restrictions on attendance and participation. He used a variety of presentation methods and actively solicited involvement from the managers in the seminar. Throughout the first 2 sessions, he went out of his way to be friendly with the group. He gave them frequent coffee breaks during the sessions. During these breaks, he promoted socializing and networking. During the 3rd session, Jim became aware of some of the difficulties with the seminar. Rather than the full complement of 25 managers, attendance had dropped to about only 15 managers. Although the starting time was established at 8:30, attendees had been arriving as late as 10 o'clock. During the afternoon sessions, some of the managers were leaving the sessions to return to their offices at the company. As he approached the 4th session, Jim was apprehensive about why things had been going poorly. He had become quite uncertain about how he should approach the group. Many questions were running through his mind. Had he treated the managers in the wrong way? Had he been too easy regarding attendance at the sessions? Should he have said something about the managers skipping out in the afternoon? Were the participants taking the seminar seriously? Jim was certain that the content of the seminars was innovative and substantive, but he could not figure out what he could change to make the program more successful. He sensed that his style was not working for this group, but he didn't have a clue as how he should change what he was doing to make the sessions better. So there are 4 questions regarding this case study. Question number 1. According to the SL2 model, what style of leadership is Jim using to run the seminars? Question number 2. At what level are the managers? Question number 3. From a leadership perspective, what is Jim doing wrong? And question number 4. What specific changes could Jim implement to improve the seminars?